Chapter 66. And it appears that these mysterious warriors have appeared at every major attack location, and are engaging the invaders, the news anchor was saying. So far, these engagements are all ongoing, but we'll be broadcasting all news live, so don't turn off your televisions, folks. And now, a word from our sponsors. The people of Central City cowered in their houses as the storm intensified, blowing away anything out on the street that wasn't nailed down. Some kind of repeated crashing noise was coming from high above them, like rapid-fire thunder, impact after impact as Gohan and Tolls rebounded off of each other, then charged back in again. They'd appear for brief moments at the heart of the storm, fists and feet swinging, then vanish again and race off through the air. There was a staccato burst of impacts, and Gohan appeared, plummeting down to the ground. He landed in the town's main square, throwing out a huge crater and shattering the concrete around him, completely obliterating the decorative fountain. He struggled to his feet, wiping away a trickle of blood that dripped from his nose. Erg. Having fun. Tolls floated down to the ground on the opposite side of the square. I guess you were all talk after all. His golden, spiked-up hair blew gently back and forth in the raging wind. Gohan scowled. He's a mockery to the whole idea of a Super Saiyan, a warrior of light, a beacon of hope. He just cheated his way up. No effort involved. Tolls laughed. What, no clever comeback? Or maybe you're wondering if that's really all the power you can muster. I remember you got a lot stronger when I made you mad before. But it's not something you can just use on command, is it? No. Gohan growled. It isn't. I've always been unable to access my full power without getting angry. Simply fighting isn't enough. But... His fist pounded into the ground, sending a shockwave rippling out through the city. Cars flipped into the air, street signs were flattened to the ground, windows shattered. The sound and fury of the storm halted, settling into an eerie, enforced stillness for a few brief moments. Gohan looked up at Tolls, his eyes hard. You're giving me a lot of reasons to be angry. Faces flashed through his mind. Videl, Goku, Chi-Chi, Goten. I know what you're like, and I can imagine what'll happen if I don't stop you. He felt a familiar anger, and a familiar power, rise to the surface. You think, you're something special, huh? His voice became lower, almost a snarl. I haven't even begun to fight. Finally, it reached the surface, and his Super Saiyan 2 aura blazed to life around him. His hair stood up on end, lightning arced around his body. Do you remember this? His eyes burned with quiet fury. I certainly do, Tolls replied. I've been waiting for this. Fortune-teller Baba's palace was a place sometimes visited by the living who sought spiritual advice, and sometimes by the dead who needed to settle their affairs in the living world. At the moment, though, the rift between Earth and the afterlife had been torn open, and Hell's escapees streamed out through it. One such person alighted on the ground outside the palace. Back here again. He muttered, tapping the device over his eyes. Now, let's see, hey. Somebody's left their scouter on, up above me somewhere. He grinned, taking off and soaring up into the sky. Long time no see, Tarbell. Goku and King Cold circled each other, each trying to get the full measure of each other's strength. Mind if we take this out of the city? Goku asked. I'll be able to focus on fighting you, and if anybody else shows up I'd like to intercept them once I'm done with you, before they can get to the city. Once you're done with me. You've got some nerve, Cold replied. Very well, if it makes you happy. I've no wish to annihilate this planet's population in any case, not when they could make such excellent subjects. The monkey's right to fear for these people. He was still unable to completely control his fourth form's power, and was prone to causing collateral damage when going all out. We'll see about that, the Scion laughed as they flew north, landing on a couple of adjacent cars fleeing the city. Well? Are you ready? Abundantly so. With that, Cold attacked, throwing a high kick. Goku just barely dodged, hopping down onto the car's hood just as it reached the back end of a traffic jam. What in tarnation, the driver yelled as the two figures danced back and forth on his vehicle. Goku backflipped away, leaping from vehicle to vehicle, and Cold followed, launching quick strikes that Goku continued to dodge. Finally, Cold feinted low, catching Goku off guard and following up with an elbow strike. Goku saw it too late to dodge, and threw up both arms to block it. The attack rebounded off his defenses, sending him skidding backwards, his feet tearing up the roof of an 18-wheeler. Pretty good, he said. I've got a good look at your speed, and now your strength, too. I honestly don't know if I can beat you as I am now. I've got time, Cold replied. Let's find out. He drew a fist back, seemingly telegraphing a punch. Something instantly seemed off to Goku. From what I've seen so far, he isn't the kind to get sloppy. He's trying to draw my attention, but from what, I see. Frieza's energy, now at 100% of his power, evidently having powered up while back in the city, was fast approaching behind Earth's defender, and tipped him off to Cold's bluff. The Scion swiveled on the spot, deflecting Frieza's ki beam with a spinning kick. Nice try, but you forgot I could sense your energy. However, a second blast came seemingly from nowhere, smashing head-on into Goku's chest. As a matter of fact, we didn't. Cooler, in his fifth form, snarled, and the attack, while substantially less than his own power level, took him by surprise, winding him. Before he could recover, Cold materialized above him, swinging his leg down and kicking Goku down to the road below. He bounced once, feeling the torn-up tarmac dig into his skin, then skidded onto his feet with the second bounce, coming to a halt amidst the panicked traffic jam. Voices washed past his ears over the steady hum of car engines. Hey, what's the hold-up? Who's that guy? Those things are flying. Wasn't he on the news? King Cold nodded to his sons. Now, boys, you know the weakness of such tragically noble creatures, do you not? Naturally, father, Frieza said, smirking. It's those pathetic lower life forms they waste all their energy protecting. I like the way you're thinking. Cooler growled, grinning bestially behind his face mask. The three frost demons each raised a hand, combining their power into a large energy ball, certainly large enough to engulf the huge line of traffic, if not the entire continent. Fire! Cold ordered, and they did so. Goku frowned. Guess dodging's out of the question, with all these people around me. He flew up into the air, throwing both hands out above him and crashing head-on into the blast, the impact knocking him straight back down to the ground in front of the traffic before detonating. The family resemblance in the Cold dynasty was clear as they watched the resulting explosion, that the three of them had the same self-satisfied confidence was unmistakable. These children of mine are quite something, the eldest realized. Once we've established dominance over this planet, I might have to turn my attention to attaining Frieza's bulky state, or Cooler's fifth form. Luckily, my power is naturally so much greater than theirs that, for now, I need not worry about them challenging, eh? The smoke had cleared. A shimmering blue wall of energy was revealed. Goku was sweating buckets, he'd been driven down onto one knee, and his feet had gouged great rents into the road, but the barrier had held and the people behind him were protected. I told you. He gasped, lowering the shield and standing up. I will not tolerate you endangering these people's lives. I may have to transform here, but let's give it some time. I don't detect any more attackers in this area yet, anyway. Frieza chuckled. Oh, you won't tolerate it, will you? Well, my apologies if what you want isn't high on my list of priorities right now, ape. Goku sighed. Your insults are as repetitive as they are mindless. When you try and hurt someone with words, it's a sure sign you've run out of other ways to attack them. What are you? Frieza began, before a blur of orange light rushed past him. Goku collided with Cold, the two throwing lightning-fast attacks back and forth at each other, neither getting a decisive hit in. Don't just float there like a pair of balloons. Cold demanded. Attack already, damn you. Right. Cooler gulped. The speed they're moving. He and Frieza nodded to each other, then charged in. Suddenly, Goku found himself under attack from three fronts. Two of them were a long way below his own power, true, but they served as adequate distractions from Cold, forcing him to lay off on his attacks and go on the defensive. By focusing on defense, he found his superior martial arts skill allowed him to fend off Cold's attacks while still avoiding the minor threats Frieza and Cooler presented. He gradually directed the battle away from the road, keeping up his retreat and parrying a particularly determined series of blows from the younger pair while jumping over Cold's tail swipe. Alright, I'm not going to use up all my strength here. Time to kick things up a notch, he declared. Hi-ah. He summoned up his inner strength, transforming to his Super Saiyan state. W-ah. Cold took a step back under the enormous pressure of Goku's ki, as his sons were literally blown away by its magnitude. Surely I was only killed by a Super Saiyan before because I never got the chance to transform, and yet, this one seems different, somehow. You wanted a Super Saiyan, you got one. Goku vanished, appearing inches away from Cold, arm poised mid-swing for a devastating stomach punch. Even before he made the attack, the difference in their levels was obvious. To Cold, Goku's movement was instantaneous, to Goku, Cold was barely moving at all. However, the Super Saiyan stopped his punch at the last second, hearing a voice cry out. Goku! Wait! Goku complied, stopping his fist half an inch from Cold's stomach. The shockwave was still immensely powerful, the sheer air pressure of the attack launching an unintentional ki that knocked Cold flat on his back. Oops, sorry. He turned to face the newcomer. Frieza. Don't worry about it. The juvenile frost demon looked around disdainfully as his grandfather picked himself up. His gaze swept over his uncle, then settled on his father. Well, it's been a long time, everyone. How have you been? Raditz and Piccolo swooped down, making a controlled descent into hell, tracking the source of the universal disruption. Strange. Raditz muttered. I've never felt a key quite like this. He looked quite different to when Piccolo had last seen him. The most immediately striking change was his hair, cut to just past shoulder length, and kept that way thanks to magical assistance from Supreme Kai. Normally, Scion hair never changes in shape or length, quickly growing back to normal if cut. Piccolo had questioned this, and Raditz had brushed it off, saying, "Oh, that. It gets in the way when, you know what, never mind." His outfit had changed, too. He wore a simple dark blue shirt, the kind Goku and the others had worn under their orange uniforms for a while now, this provided by King Kai. His pants vaguely resembled Piccon's, loose and white. They were topped with a sash-like belt, upon which was emblazoned three symbols, the Turtle School's, King Kai's, and the Scion royal crest, to pay homage to his Scion, human and otherworld comrades. Finally, his red arm, leg and head bands were gone. Being dead himself, he no longer felt the need to pay tribute to the fallen of the past. Piccolo couldn't tell for sure, but it seemed a great weight off the Scion's mind. Piccolo, for his part, hadn't changed a bit, but to be fair to him he'd been in the afterlife for several hundred years, and the white-robed look was evidently one he'd settled on and stuck with after a while. King Kai's voice chimed in telepathically. "Hello. Raditz, Piccolo. You might want to hurry. Or do I have to remind you that the entire structure of the universe is collapsing?" "All right, calm down, we're here," Raditz said evenly. Forget appearance, Piccolo realized, this was the real change in the man, the deep sense of tranquility. He was totally at ease, and calm seemed to radiate from his body. "And come to that, couldn't you just teleport there?" the North Kai demanded. "Don't worry, we've got time. I wanted to admire the scenery." He gazed around at hell. The lakes of blood, mountains carved with demonic faces, random clusters of spikes, the giant jelly beans. He paused. "Did I just say that?" "I think you did." Piccolo stared at what appeared, indeed, to be a giant floating jelly bean. Odd. Not what I picture when I think of hell. Exactly. Those aren't meant to be there. King Kai shouted, making them wince. And King Yema's palace has been encased in one of them. If he isn't freed, he can't start sorting out all the loose souls and restore everything to normal, and come to it, even if we do that, whatever caused this could just do it all over again. So you two go stop it, right now. He's going to give himself a stroke someday, I swear, Raditz said. I mean, it's not like it's the end of the world, alright, technically it's worse than, well. Figure of speech. He shrugged. Let's just get it over with. I believe we don't have a choice. Piccolo powered up, throwing off his training weights. Whatever it is, it's heading this way, fast. This energy, I've never felt anything like it. It's like a storm of chaos, spreading out over this entire area. Good. Raditz cracked his knuckles, flashing effortlessly into Super Saiyan 2. Shortly, it came lumbering over a hill, not at all what they were expecting. To be precise, an enormous, fat yellow creature, with a vacant smile and 4 round openings on its torso. As soon as it spotted them, it let out a childish laugh, firing a stream of hundreds of yellow energy bullets from its vents. Whoa! The two fighters leapt out of the way, dodging and weaving through the air, as the rapid-fire volley demolished the landscape where they'd just been standing. Whatever it isn't intelligent. Piccolo decided. More like a child or an animal lashing out at whatever it sees. Is this really what's causing all this damage to reality? I don't see anyone else, do you? Raditz replied. Janemba. Janemba. It giggled, clapping its hands together. Janemba. Well. The Scion shrugged. We know its name. I couldn't care less, Piccolo grumbled. Just kill it. Right you are. The two fired quick energy blasts, bowling the Janemba creature over and sending it skidding back through a mountain, crushing the edifice under its massive bulk. However, it quickly leapt back to its feet, unharmed. Huh, Raditz said. Tough one, eh? Seems that way, Piccolo concurred. Slow, though. We can use that. However, just as he said this it thrust its right arm into the air, and its forearm vanished into a round portal that appeared in midair. Simultaneously, it stretched its left arm out, Namekian style, directly towards them. They prepared to block, when another swirling portal opened right above them, Janemba's right fist flying straight down at their heads. Piccolo took a punch from the overhead right arm, crashing down into the ground below, and Raditz was grabbed and held between the left's massive fingers. RRGH. He struggled, but couldn't break free. Strong, aren't you? Well. His eyes narrowed, and he disappeared from its grasp, instant transmission carrying him up to its face, where he threw a kick that snapped its head to the side, taking it down again. A punch, a kick, an elbow, a knee, a headbutt, Gohan and Tol struck each other vicious, merciless blows, back and forth, both foregoing defense for an all-out attack. Gohan jumped back, panting, then paused. What was that? It came from the rift where all these people are escaping hell, but it felt like a fifth-dimensional presence. Like someone was shifting. Only, not a whole person. How could someone only shift part of themselves? He didn't let it distract him, though. He dodged Tol's next strike, then locked arms with the unrepentant Scion. They pushed against each other, the air warping and crackling under the immense force of their ki. Yes, you may have beaten me with that power before, Tol said, a hungry glint in his eyes, but I'm far stronger now. I'll crush you. Is that so? Gohan growled. You might have noticed that I'm not a little kid anymore. He took a slow step forwards, beginning to push Tol's back. I've grown a little stronger myself, he shouted, throwing Tol's away and hurling an energy bolt after him. Nice shot, Piccolo said, clambering up off the ground as Raditz landed next to him. Amazing, such force in that one kick. His Super Saiyan 2 form was unbelievably strong already, but he's improved an incredible amount in these last few years. Thanks. Raditz frowned. But it won't stay down. Our attacks aren't really hurting it, just taking it off. If that. Sure enough, the creature was back on its feet, bobbing up and down with glee. Janemba. 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 Right. Piccolo nodded. We need to try our strongest attacks, even if that means taking a minute to charge up. Sounds like a plan, Raditz replied. I'll take the lead. As soon as you see an opening, hit it hard. Got it. Raditz flew up to a few hundred yards away from Janemba, waving nonchalantly. Hey. Fun size. It stared at him, blinking. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Come get it. Janemba grinned from ear to ear, bouncing eagerly at the Super Saiyan. He fired another quick energy beam to distract it and give him time to charge up, but the creature had its own plans. Janemba. It held up both hands, palms up, and astonishingly, twin identical, life-size copies of Raditz appeared, one in each hand, bathed in a pink glow. They each launched their own, pink energy blasts, smashing Raditz out of the way and hitting him head-on before he got any further than wah. Piccolo saw his chance, taking position behind it, but it flipped over backwards, cartwheeling towards him and kicking him to the ground. Even as he stood, coughing through a cloud of dust, it was facing him, scooping up a double handful of rocks. Now what's it playing at? It beamed wordlessly, filling the rocks with waves of swirling, chaotic power. Each one, in a brilliant flare of light, was transformed into a miniature copy of Janemba. Giggling, the original threw its arms forwards, sending the swarm hurtling towards Piccolo. He braced himself as they scattered, then flew at him from all directions. He lashed out with all four limbs, sending them flying away, but they just bounced back for more. He knew he couldn't keep it up forever, so he suddenly broke off his frenzied defense, beginning to spin in increasingly rapid circles. Finally, when his attackers were inches away, he initiated the technique. Hyper Tornado. He vanished, becoming one with the hypersonic, swirling currents he'd created. In a matter of seconds, the high-speed attack had incapacitated all the tiny Janembas, each one fading from existence with a mewling cry. However, just as he stopped, foes defeated, to catch his breath, the real Janemba loomed over him, foot raised to stamp him out. Damn it. Just then, a voice called out from behind Janemba. Ha, me. Janemba. It spun and leapt forwards, swinging its flabby arms at Raditz, one from each side in an attempt to swat him like an insect. However, he used instant transmission again, appearing behind and slightly above it. Ha! The energy beam punched right through Janemba's back and out through its stomach. It swayed slightly on its feet, then looked down at the gaping hole in its abdomen, puzzled. Janemba. Thunder flash. Piccolo yelled, throwing both hands forwards and discharging the massive buildup of electricity he'd quickly accumulated. Janemba was taken by surprise, and the attack coursed through its body, finally dissipating and leaving it a charred, smoking wreck that slowly toppled, splashing into a nearby ocean of blood and lying still. Well, that wasn't too hard, Raditz said, dusting off his hands and preparing to power down to his normal form. Piccolo floated up next to him. Right. Now that that's dealt with, we can free King Yema, restore everything, and maybe find out just what that thing was and where it came from. Although, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do with the rest of it. It does take up a lot of space. Sell it by the pound. Seriously, though, let's. Raditz trailed off, his eyes widening. Janemba's ki was still there. More than that, it was rising, at an alarming rate. Its corpse began to glow a brilliant green. Piccin. Raditz said, suddenly serious for the first time. Go. What? I said get out of here. The scion flared up his aura, the air around him burning gold and blue. This is beyond you. Why, yes. Right. Piccin flew back up towards the mouth of hell. I'll go see if I can free Yema. You do that. Raditz stared down at Janemba's shining corpse. Now, I get to see your true face, Janemba. And maybe, if you're lucky, you might get to see mine. Hey Goku, Frieza said, feigning cheerfulness. Can you sense those two power levels heading our way from the north? Goku, still a Super Saiyan, nodded. Yeah. You want me to go head them off? Yeah. Frieza's eyes narrowed. Don't worry about me. I've got things under control here. Right. I trust you. Besides, Goku thought as he headed up into the air, leaving a burning golden trail behind him, he never got to see any of his family since coming here. I think it's important he gets some closure, though knowing that family, who knows what kind of closure that'll be. He headed straight for the two key signals, flying straight up into the rain-swept sky. There you are. Hi there, he said cheerily, as he approached the smaller of the two. Whoa. Lord Slug just had enough time to gape in surprise before a chop to the neck sent him plummeting to the ground, miles below. And now, for contestant number 2. Goku glanced left and right. Hey, they're moving quickly, in fact, right on top of me. And wow, I couldn't forget that key. Kakarot. A gigantic hand swiped at Goku from within the clouds. Broly, ulp. Goku was unable to dodge, and the legendary Super Saiyan gripped him by the leg, swinging his arm around and positioning Goku beneath him, before sending them both hurtling towards the ground in a high-speed piledriver. The impact was tremendous, and sent Goku drilling hundreds of feet into the ground. Broly stood over the crater, smiling. Huff, Vichich. A golden column of light burst out of the ground, shortly followed by Super Saiyan 2 Goku. His fist cracked into Broly's face with enough force to level a mountain range 100 times over. Alright, Broly, you want a rematch? Broly skidded back, shaking his head to clear his vision. Kakarot, I'll kill you this time. Just try it. Nappa walked cautiously forwards towards the center of the lookout. Hey, Tarble, where you got to? Come out, wherever. I'm right here, came Tarble's voice. Nappa turned, seeing the smaller Scion approaching, Dr. Mew a couple of steps behind him. Aw, and you've got a little friend, Nappa chuckled. That's cute. Tarble smiled innocently. I'm glad you're here, Nappa. There are so few Scions left, I'm happy for you. Happy for me. The bald brute snorted. You don't resent me. He'd always used to pick on Tarble, before he'd been exiled, whenever Vegeta wasn't around, as many Scions did, always finding the peaceful wimp a source of amusement, but Tarble had been too shy to tell Vegeta. Besides, the older prince would probably have just told him to fight his own battles. Of course not. Tarble replied. You just had a lot of pent-up aggression is all. I'm sure being a soldier helped you relieve a lot of that. Get a load of this. Nappa shook his head. Got a psychologist over here. It would be wise to stop mocking him. Mew's voice cut through the air like a knife. Hey, mind your own, freak, Nappa growled. He tapped his scouter, the thing's power level barely registered. Not a threat. Mew, please. Tarble put a hand on the Tuffle's shoulder. No threats here. I'm trying to help my old acquaintance readjust to the land of the living. Are you? That's nice. Nappa clenched his right hand into a fist. You know, I always hated you, Tarble. If Vegeta wasn't around I'd have done this a long time ago. Energy started to crackle between his fingers. Tarble's eyes widened. What are you doing? Nappa drew his fist back. You're a mockery to our warrior race. So say goodbye, short stuff. Nappa, don't. This is insane. I'm not your enemy. I'll decide who my enemies are. Nappa swung at Tarble, but Mew stepped in and caught the attack effortlessly. I believe I warned you, Scion. The doctor's grip tightened, and bones creaked in Nappa's hand. What, but... Nappa let out a growl of pain. Doesn't make any sense. The scouter said. Just at this moment, his scouter beeped urgently as Mew released some of his power. The noise rose in pitch and frequency, until finally the scouter exploded. Nappa flinched, staring at Mew. What, are you? I was, like you, dead. Mew said, shoving Nappa away with a gentle flick of his arm. Without purpose, mindlessly pursuing old grudges. I have been reborn. Nappa rubbed his aching hand. Faye, you're crazy. I guess it makes sense Tarbell would like you, he's crazy too, peaceful scion, what kind of crap is that? Mia's eyes narrowed. Every time you open your mouth, you confirm my first impression, you are everything that I hate about your race. He began to advance slowly, his voice growing harsh. Arrogant, boisterous, violent, callous, intellectually vacant. His hands twitched. Do you know, I could rip you limb from limb right now. It's what yours did to plenty of mine. You're already dead. Surely it wouldn't be. That's enough, Mio. Tarbell shouted. I won't allow you to kill him. Won't allow it. What could you do to stop me? Why do you even care, when I'm acting in your defense? Because you're done, Tarbell insisted, putting a hand on Mio's shoulder. No more of the cycle of revenge. You can't start down that road again. I'm not saying there's never a reason to kill anybody, but this is about you, alright? Mio's whole body trembled. He glared at Nappa. This is the butcher of my people. Have I changed? Have I moved on? His arm swung up. Damn it. He let out a ki, enough to knock Nappa out cold but leave him alive. There, are you happy? Yes. Tarbell smiled, bowing slightly. Thank you. Did you really care that much for the existence of someone already condemned to hell? Well, I don't know what happens if you die a second time while already in hell, or escaped from it, or whatever. They began to walk back into the lookout. But like I said, it was more for your sake than his. I need you to understand that revenge killings are essentially pointless. He was no threat to you, and it wouldn't have gained anything. Mew still seemed concerned. He could be a problem when he wakes up. Unlikely. By the time he's conscious, this will all have blown over. How can you possibly know that? I don't know it. But there's a lot of amazing people out there, protecting the Earth. They'll take care of it. Have a little faith, will you? It's a shame. Goku said, dodging Broly's furious swipes. I always felt kind of sorry for you, Broly. You never got to be your own person. Stand still. Broly roared, continuing to miss his light-footed opponent. Still, I guess it's too late for you now, Goku decided. You're too far gone, just a monster. He flipped over another punch, turning the jumping motion into a double-footed kick to the legendary Scion's stomach. Monster. Me. Broly cackled, barely feeling the pain. No, I am a devil. Whatever you say. Goku spun around a leg sweep, ramming his elbow into Broly's neck. Broly stumbled but stayed on his feet. Damn, you just don't give up. Goku complained. Janemba's bloated corpse was gone. The glow had died. In its place hung a man-sized figure, red skin with purple armor plates, a long, twisting tail, swept-back horns protruding from its forehead. Slowly, raising its eyes and locking its gaze on Raditz, it breathed out, a noise like crunching glass. So, this is your real power, Janemba. Raditz dropped down out of the air to face it, touching down gracefully on the tip of a spike jutting out of the ground. The weight of this ki, it's enormous. This thing is, without a doubt, the strongest enemy I've ever had to face. He slid one foot back along the spike, clenching his fists and furrowing his brow as he prepared to summon up his energy. Quite an impressive transformation. My turn.